Hey, women of the portal. I'm glad to be with you live. Um, I can't remember what I said I was coming to talk about, and I forgot to go look. Actually, I can look right here. I can't remember. I think it was Lilith. It's, since I made that post. Hi, Crystal Dawn. How are you? Are you on a break? Um, um, Lilith, soul level integrity. Uh, Lilith popped in last night. I didn't expect her to, but I came on to talk about sex and wound up talking a little bit more about racism and about how that's the bottom line. Good grief, what is going on here? um, I would start over, but we're friends. We know each other. The bottom line is I need to get back on mission. The beautiful thing is that my personal and ultimately my business anti-racism work is on mission. However, my mission is my lane, my expertise is helping you clear and heal your obstacles to sexual pleasure, power, wealth, and voice. And all of these things are connected. And when I talk about that, Lilith pops in because she was my first divine teacher about that. She is the one who came to me and said, you know, you've been upset, you've been sad, you've been isolating, you haven't been enraged yet about a certain situation in my life several years ago. And so she gave me permission and an avenue and a medium to be enraged. And that rage is just as soon as I let it out, it transmuted, it allowed itself to come out into art. That was a gorgeous, gorgeous experience. Because I didn't have to rage a long time. I didn't have to, I'm scared of rage. I'm scared of my own rage. I really think heads will roll, and that is true. Heads will roll. But in that particular container, in that particular moment, Lilith took the rage and then she threw it onto the canvas. I was using paper, actually. And it was beautiful. And the work is still incredibly potent work. And so last night, when all of this energy, I just popped in because I'm desiring to get back on track, to keep moving forward in my mission and my teaching, and to provide you with what you need as women to be wild, to be free, to be liberated, to be orgasmic, to be wealthy, to be effective, to be in your mission, to transform however you need to transform. And that includes everything that's going on now. How you walk through the transformation that you are being personally asked for yourself and that you are being asked to envision and midwife for all of society. So this is important stuff. And it feels really big. Last night it felt really big. And it was like, no, I came on here to have fun. Why am I talking about all this heavy stuff? And right now I'm talking about it and it doesn't feel heavy. It feels exciting. It feels thrilling. It feels orgasmic. And I think that's because Lilith has my back again. Bless you, Audrey Moon. You're in this group. I don't know if you'll see this, but you did a post on Lilith and I contributed to the conversation, and Lilith she's just like, yeah. This is the part you really need to work with right now. And so what I want to share with you, in case you forgot or you never heard it, Lilith stands for soul level integrity. Now, I did not make that up. One of the astrologers who taught me about Lilith, I found when I wanted to learn more about Lilith, I could only get this far looking at mythology or in any other level of work. The people who really began to explore Lilith are the astrologers. And there are astrologers who take the demon goddess, Lilith is everything that is evil and disruptive about the feminine. And then there are the astrologers like Kelly Hunter and Johnny Nicholas, and I don't remember which one said this, that looks at the story of Lilith and they see a feminine entity, a being, a divinity, a goddess. Was she woman, or was she divine, or was she some hybrid of both? Adam's first wife in the Garden of Eden, much older than that. She was the handmaiden of Inanna, so she was much older than Adam. And yet in the Judeo-Christian lineage, and I guess we could include the Islamic lineage with that as well, any of the Abrahamic religions that go all the way back to the Old Testament and the Genesis story tap into Lilith as Adam's first wife, who was an uppity woman. And she believed that she was a goddess. And she believed that she was in charge of everything in the garden. And she was designing the garden and keeper of the garden and the holder of the fertility. And Adam was the namer. He's the one who named all the creatures. And he was the planner. And he thought that gave him special rights and privileges, and that Lilith needed to respect those, and that Lilith should actually, Adam, the way he tells it, God and Adam had a meeting and they said, we need to renegotiate Lilith's contract. And she doesn't have a union, so we are going to fuck her over. She is going to have to lie on her back and let me be on top. And she is going to have to keep her mouth shut and let me call the shots. And she's going to have to do as I say, because I am pure. I am made in the image of God, and Lilith is made in the image of dirt. I see Lilith as a permaculture goddess. She is rich, humus, compost. She is the fertility that's full of microbes and mycorrhizal mycelium and earthworms and other beings and creatures that release nutrients into the soil and the plants grow. She is the fertile receiver of seed that makes the entire garden. And she said, no way, I stay on top. I ride you, Adam. And if you don't like it, I'm leaving. And they insisted. They insisted you sign this contract to be docile and do as you're told and, roll over and enjoy it. And she said, I will not. And she left. She abandoned the garden. And this was the garden that she had made. And this is she is the fertility of the garden. And they said, oh no, now we're in trouble. She's left. And they went and got her. I think God sent some angels, some pretty badass angels to grab her and to get her back. And she would not come. And that's when they cursed her and said, you are now a demon. And she was cursed. One of her curses is that her fertility, first off, became evil. She was known to cause wet dreams in men, which was considered a sin in the patriarchal world, to spill the seed on the ground rather than inside of a woman where it could bear fruit. And she was cursed with giving birth to 1,000 children a night, and they would all die by morning. So in other words, everything that she birthed, that she created, was destined to die. And the interesting thing is that this is only true in the hearts and minds of people. I don't believe this is true about Lilith. Now, Lilith was separated from her garden. And of course, this is all a myth and a metaphor. And I have written articles that describe the metaphor. I think Lilith's children dying every night was permission for genocide. That when the monotheistic people, the Hebrews, the people who became the Jews in due time, when they would go into a new land, they would kill everybody who worshiped the goddess. And they would kill the women and the children. And some of them they enslaved, but mostly, either way, regardless of the method used, it was genocide. And I feel like that piece of the story is like an excuse or a description of permission to murder. And so this was all laid upon Lilith. It's your fault. You did not toe the line. You did not worship the masculine. You did not surrender your power. And so this is a soul level integrity, that she would give up the garden she made, that she would risk and allow herself to be demonized in that way. And her reputation is, as I said, coming back and sucking the life out of men through the life force, through wet dreams, masturbation, onanism it's called. That's one story that comes along later. And she was also accused of stealing children, of killing babies. She would kill a baby in the night, and this could be, well, she was just blamed for a whole lot of shit that either happened naturally or happened for some other reason. So what does that tell us? What can we take from this? Well, people, many stories, many people accept that the snake, the serpent in the garden, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm introducing Eve. Lilith left. She took her fertility with her. So Adam is once again left. He's in this position where we meet him in the beginning of Genesis, those of us who are Bible readers, where he says, you know, all of the animals have mates and I don't have one. Since that other one ran away, make me a woman. And God made him a mate. And he says, I'll take her out of your rib. She will be a part of you and she will be subject to you. And I've heard, growing up in a Bible preaching church, I've heard all kinds of stories about Lilith and Eve. Not Lilith. I never heard of Lilith. I didn't really get to know Lilith until that moment, until the astrologers started talking about her. I kind of had heard of her, but her name was besmirched, and she was definitely she's not part of the Old and New Testaments that I grew up with. But Eve was, and Eve was an innocent. She was taken full grown out of Adam's rib, and she was missing the ancient history that Lilith had picked up, being the handmaid of Inanna. And she was there basically to do Adam's bidding and to bear the children and to be the female, the fertile one, but it was fertility that was subject to the male. And the male began to take more credit for everything. He owned it all. They were not equal partners, and they were never designed to be. So Lilith, I keep saying Lilith, Eve is walking through the garden and admiring it, and what an easy life, the Garden of Eden. And she runs into this tree, the forbidden tree, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Which was what Eve was missing, because Lilith had it. Lilith was so ancient, older probably than Inanna. So she knew all about good and all about evil. And Lilith was in that tree. And she sees Eve, and Eve is captivated by this incredible serpent, this serpent figure. And the artists of the Renaissance and throughout history have drawn the serpent with a female head and possibly a bust, breasts, and maybe arms, and maybe a head, and definitely a female head. And she is commonly understood to be Lilith, or Satan in my milieu. Satan, the devil, the tempter. But she's another female. And she's saying, this is all yours. You have every right to this knowledge. This is your birthright. And so symbolically, she offers her the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And Eve cannot resist. She sees no reason to resist. Why wouldn't she? It's her birthright. She's simply claiming what belongs to her. But God had said, you can eat of all the other trees, but not this one. Oh, I'm going to guess. And I don't think, Eve did say, in most of the accounts, Eve says, oh, but God said we couldn't. And Lilith said, you're not going to listen to him, are you? And Eve ate the fruit. And her eyes were opened. And I tend to want to frame this in an erotic way. She felt things in her body. She knew things. Her womb was lit up. Her yoni, her vulva, was lit up. She discovered she had a clitoris. Wow, the proof that God is a woman. 8,000 nerve endings that are an organ that is only for pleasure. Yeah. So she goes to Adam because she shares everything with him. That's her conditioning. That's, the way, that's why she's here, to give him all, any good thing she gets, no secrets. She takes it to him. And Adam is like, you didn't. But oh my God, you're hot. He realizes he kind of missed Lilith. This Eve, as he ordered her up from God, is, no fuss, compliant, complacent, do as she told. No, he was pretty excited by what she was offering him, and he took it. And the story has it that God knew immediately and cast them out. And this is where there is the casting out. Lilith was not cast out. She was demonized, barred from ever entering again, except that she never left. Not really. How could she? She just had to be stealthy about it. And Adam and Eve were cast out, and the angels were placed with the swords and the fiery brands. I think a torch and a sword or something like that, to bar the gates of Eden. And human beings were condemned then. Adam, his food, instead of just growing in abundance and lushness, he had to work hard for it. He had to face all the things: drought, pestilence, flood, fire, insects. All food became very difficult to get. And Eve was cursed to give birth. Childbirth suddenly became painful. It's part of the curse. It's women have painful childbirth because we brought original sin into the world. So that's the story. And some of that you're familiar. Well, let's get back to Lilith and soul level integrity. Lilith is divine, and the divine cannot be created or destroyed, just like energy. She can change form. And so as I understand it, Lilith is constantly still. She never left Eve. Eve had eaten the fruit of good and evil, and even though she suffered for it, she was punished for it, she could not uneat that fruit. And so what do we know about epigenetics? That knowing gets passed down through the generations. So through this story, we realize we have that fruit inside of us. And that knowledge of good and evil includes this soul level integrity that is a bone deep level of discernment and a faith in our own power to know what is right and wrong and to do what is right, to choose what is right. And even right and wrong are interesting words because those are conditional words. It depends on who's looking at it, as we well know. So we go below right and wrong. What's that Rumi poem? Out beyond the field of right doing and out beyond right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. Now, apparently that is terribly mistranslated, as I have read, but let's just use that example. Let me meet you out there in that field. Well, Lilith has a truer version of that. Those places in you that have been described as right and wrong, go deeper. There is something truer there in your soul, this soul deep integrity. And it lives. It lives in your womb. It lives in your womb. That is your connection, the cosmic connection between all of these seemingly opposite parts. That is where they make union. It's like the fertilization of an egg. It's like conception. And it becomes implantation and gestation and birth. It is like the stimulation of nerves and the activation of energy that become orgasm. It is like receiving the downloads from cosmic, from divine, and receiving the uploads from earth and letting them meet inside of you. So how does this apply to our current situation? I think you can trust your soul level integrity. I think as you are navigating the changes you're making, and these changes, right now the change we are asked to make is to confront within ourselves racism, to confront within ourselves white body supremacy, and to confront in ourselves how that has unconsciously or consciously directed our behavior and what the effect of that has been or is, continues to be. And so this is a process of discernment. This is a process of being willing to go deep. This is a process of being able to drop below fragility, pain, discomfort, belief systems, all the resistances. And if you can carry that gently, there is a ferocity that is required, that is called forth. A ferocity and an urgency, yes. And yet, there is also a gentleness. There is a making of space. And there's a making of space for shift to happen, for change to happen. And so making of space is a gentle and loving and nurturing place. Because even if you get blown apart by what's happening, even if the grief or the rage or the what the fuck just happened here, whether it's outside of I feel for them or inside, I don't know who I am anymore, I am terribly confused, and I feel like a bad person, and I want to fix it all right now. Can I snap my fingers and have this go away? No. All of this must be metabolized. That's a good word for it. Metabolize. Eat it. Digest it. And shit out the waste. And build a new body with the nourishment. This is what we are called to do. And this soul deep, soul level integrity that Lilith stands for tells us how to do it. Or she's our guide. She'll light up for each one of us. This, not this. Or be with the contradictions until they align themselves. So, if you can do that around racism, then other things will fall into line. Things around sexuality and money and boundaries and jealousy and self-worth. We all have these issues to one degree or another, and so many more. Abuse and trauma of all kinds. And it may appear to have nothing to do with race. Some of it doesn't on the surface. So let's look at it from another angle. I've looked at it from as you're adjusting your inner reality around race. What if you just said, okay, that's happening. I'm doing my due diligence. I'm doing that work. And I know it's going to take a long time, but I am committed and I will do it. I am in the process actively. What's going to support you in doing that? What else is going on in your life? Did you suddenly stop being a woman? Did you suddenly stop wishing you could tap into your orgasmic energy? Do you stop wishing that menopause weren't wreaking havoc with your body and your sex life? Did you stop wishing you could somehow find a partner to be with, especially in the frustration of quarantines and pandemics? Did you stop knowing that you have to tap into your feminine power? You have to step into greater expression, greater freedom, greater creativity, greater visibility in order to fulfill your purpose in life. All of these things, I talk about sex, wealth, and voice, the three feminine powers. And so sex is about what's going on in our body. Wealth is how we flow with the resources that life gives us, how we increase, how we exchange, how we serve, how we are. My teacher, Newt, used to say, her definition of wealth is the degree of intimacy you are willing to share with the world. How much exchange, orgasmic exchange, are you willing to have with the world? Thank you, Newt. It took me a long time to understand that, and I think it is still dawning inside of me. So, voice, speaking your truth, even if it's scary, even if you are choking back self-doubt, even if you wonder if people will kill you, even if opening your mouth and using your voice brings back tremors from past lives and past trauma, where your mouth was washed out with soap, where your head was cut off, where your tongue was cut out, where you were burned. All of these things are happening inside of us. These are part of our energy field, part of our epigenetics, our DNA, our cellular memory, our race memory. Our species memory might be a better way of saying what I mean to say here. So Lilith, soul level integrity, and the place where you meet that, cultivate that, explore that is in your womb. Now on the page, I got an inspiration. It was June 1st. I think that's when the inspiration came. And I think we were beginning to feel more was coming, but the first ripples through social media blowing up around what was happening, what had happened over the weekend in the coaching industry, in certain groups on Facebook, and that was about to happen, and I had already received this message that we need some support. We need a way of processing this energy. An embodied, energetic way. Well, what I know, my go-to process at the foundation of everything else is womb centering. And I decided that between June 1st and the new moon eclipse, which is June 21st on the solstice, I would do a daily womb centering on my page. And I did it on my page specifically so that I could share it into groups and that more people could find it potentially. And I have done so. And I had this idea that I needed to get up and do it at 7 o'clock every morning. That didn't happen. There's life. I am a crone. I get to respect my energy level, and sometimes I push through beyond fatigue, but I am learning that is usually, almost always, a mistake. It does not serve anyone, myself or the people that I am being called to touch. So I'm doing it at different times, but most of the time it's the first thing I do in the morning, but not always. Anyway, they're all on the page, and I think they've all been, today's I haven't shared into this group yet. So why am I doing the womb centering? Well, what I'm learning from this womb centering, and I'm doing a very simple version of it. People who have been my clients know that we go all kinds of places. I have done an entire 6-month Inanna descent journey and return. Inanna down to the underworld and returning in womb centering. And the women in sex after menopause, we did womb clearing and womb healing and worked with womb centering as a way of discovering what's going on, of integrating and anchoring what we were learning about ourselves, our history, our sexuality, our desires, our belief systems, our shifting those belief systems. All of that got anchored in the womb. And so they are walking with that to this day. And it will not go away. It will not leave them. It will, if they stray too far, their wombs will pull them back because they now have a different library, a different set of information. So I'm not doing that level of work because I'm not creating a container. I'm just showing up, and we are activating the light in the womb. And we are doing some basic things of expanding it out into the aura, of doing a little bit of healing work, of sending love and acceptance and appreciation to those parts of us that feel stuck in dark. We've done some sharing of the energy with the situation in the world. Most of it, most of the time, the direction is to keep the womb centering with the women, with inside yourself, because this is a way of replenishing and nourishing you. And what has been so fascinating, doing it every day and really tapping into the great circle of life and tapping in. I don't know how many women are actually tuning in, how many women are showing up every single day. Maybe zero. I've done it every single day. Maybe dozens, maybe hundreds. The thing is, it will be there, and women who need it will find it. So what we're doing with that is what I'm noticing, this is where I went, is that today we did day 11. And so we've been through a cycle of 10. And Grandfather Joseph teaches that once we get to 10, we are bumped up to a higher vibration, and then we go back to the beginning. But we are in the new vibration of the beginning. So today we started over in a new vibration. And because I'm doing the womb centering every day, obviously, I can really feel it. And the energy is really quite big. And I am just only praying that it is not too big, because we are not in a sacred container. But I call in. We create a container. We call in the great circle of life in the beginning. And we are in our own bodies. And some of us have experiences in life or trauma. We don't feel safe in our own bodies. But I'm here to tell you, whether you feel safe or not, you are safe in your own body. That is where you can be safe. You and you. So let me circle back to Lilith. Soul level integrity. And one way we can amplify that, tune into it, fine-tune it, discern it, is to work with our womb energy. And that is why every program, private or group, involves learning to womb center. And we do a lot of work in our womb space because it anchors it in the body. It taps into vast resources of energy and knowledge. And it keeps you in yourself. You are, everything is coming through you. This belongs to you. So all the work we do whether it's a descent into the underworld or whether it's, oh my God, I found my clitoris and I had an orgasm. This is womb work. This is womb healing. So as I invite you to participate with me, as I invite you to explore your own initiation, to work with me privately one-on-one, or to take the intermediate step of sex after menopause, if that is your, if you are a woman near or in menopause and you want to tap into your sexual power, your womb power, and do some healing work around all the stuff you've been carrying in your womb for your entire life, then today is the day. We are opening, I had to pause sex after menopause because we went into a different space. Actually, the main reason I paused it is because of things happening in my own household. My son became quite ill and I had to be available to him, and I just couldn't stretch myself too many different ways. So we're opening it next week. And honestly, I have to look at the calendar to see if it's going to be Wednesday or Thursday. I think it needs to be Wednesday. 5 days, 6 days from now. So we are opening this program again to 7 women maximum. That is sex after menopause. It is for women who are menopausal or almost there. You're so far into perimenopause that any period could be your last. So, and the thing is, there doesn't have to be, quote, anything wrong with your sexuality. However, what is shifting is your energy and your role in the world as a menopausal woman, a woman moving through Queen Empress Crone. And so there's healing work to be done. There are new things to learn about your sexuality. There is a recalibration period that goes on, and the one that happens at menopause is probably more significant and more fraught with potential challenges, and certainly more open to wisdom than any other, because you are stepping into a place where traditionally, physically, energetically, I'm not saying that modern life is like this, but in the world of the feminine before patriarchy, you were stepping into the place of the wise elder, the wise priestess, and your responsibilities shifted. So sex after menopause gives you, first off, we deal with sexuality in a way that will enhance your life, enhance your relationship, bring you much pleasure. And we also do some of that preliminary clearing and centering work to begin to open up the pathways of your next level, your new expression of your divine feminine path. So, sex after menopause is happening. Private initiation, one-on-one healing work and or initiation work is always available. So you can have your own Inanna descent if that calls to you, if you're feeling like you need to take a really deep dive into the underworld, into the process of releasing, recalibrating, reordering, emptying, and then emerge completely new and reborn. That is a profound initiation. I'm also working on a Baba Yaga initiation based on the chapter in Dr. Estes' work, Clarissa Pinkola Estes' Women Who Run with the Wolves. She basically describes an initiation It could be the Psyche initiation or the Vasilisa initiation. They are very similar stories. There are other, it's like you come, let's talk, let's see what you need. Yeah, there's several things. The sexual healing and self-worth, which is an opening level of initiation, and for women who are at the beginning of their journey. And any age woman can take it, can participate, but that's because we all sometimes need to do that first step of women's initiation, going back in time and picking up the initiation that we did not have as maidens. So that is a part. That is where we start that particular initiation. That is a 3-month program. And I would love to get together a group of 5 women to do it together. And it's also available one-on-one. And I know this is a lot to throw at you, but it just makes sense. I have a lot to give, a lot to offer. And I want you to know that it's here, because how can you say yes? How can you step into these opportunities for growth and purpose if you don't know about them? So that's what I wanted to share with you. This, and the purpose of talking about the programs right now, is to describe how we tap into womb wisdom. That is the core of all of the work that we do. And how that relates back to Lilith is where you find your soul level integrity, your deepest inner knowing that is beneath the foundations of your personal truth. And right, wrong, they don't really exist. Those are judgments, and they cause great suffering inside ourselves, and then we project that suffering out onto the world. So let's go below, beneath right and wrong, to soul level integrity and truth. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you so much.